Welcome back, everybody, to the Renaissance Humanism podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Riley. In today's episode, I will be discussing the geopolitical future of Poland in a deglobalized world. In this kind of situation, should the United States of America continue its path of disengagement with the rest of the world, becoming more isolated and isolationist? That means they're no longer interested in being the world's policeman, protecting the world's oceans, which the United States has done since the end of World War II in 1945, in order to facilitate international trade and have foreign nations to actually specialise in goods and services, which enable the prosperity we have today. Poland, in a deglobalised world, without the United States, when the United States has gone back home, it's staying home, is more interested in the North and South American continent and the Far East to a lesser extent, as well as key allies such as the British, the Australians, the Canadians, and the Japanese. It's mostly more focused on the Anglosphere, that's the English speaking peoples, and Japan and South Korea, in order to contain China. In that kind of world, back in Europe, Poland has got two great powers on its western and eastern front. The Russians, they have terminal demographic decline. For Germany, they've got the same issues as well. And that gives opportunity for Poland to potentially become a new great power in Europe, which is a position it hasn't held since the 15th and 16th centuries, partly due to its internal issues as well, due to its system of government. We saw the collapse of Poland and it being partitioned in the 1790s. Now, Poland also historically, one time briefly, in the early 17th century for about 2 years, actually controlled Moscow briefly for 2 years. Um, that was when it reached the height of its power, the rise of its success. Now, Poland has the opportunity to become a great power again. To do this, it most likely might partner up with Scandinavian nations, particularly Sweden. Sweden, historically, was never a great power, it was a regional power. When I say regional powers tend to dominate their local areas, but they never have the actual strength or the population size to become the hegemon and dominant power in Europe. For example, in the Far East, China was the hegemon of the Far East for millennium. In North America, the United States is hegemon of North America and was also briefly the global hegemon, the global superpower, unopposed from 1989 until the 2008 financial crisis, which caused economic problems in the United States of America and meant it could not really react properly, partly due to being distracted with the wars in the Middle East, particularly Afghanistan from 2001 to 2021, which meant that the United States couldn't really maneuver against the Russian Federation because they needed the Russians and their supply lines to supply the military deployment inside of Afghanistan. Now, as for Poland, again, allying with Sweden, it gives Poland strength at sea in the Baltic and also give them a partner as well, a junior partner, which could help with them to oppose any expansionist tendencies on the part of the Russian Federation or potentially the Germans. But for Germany, they seem to be willing to go quite into that good night. They seem to be willing to go into irrelevance. And as that happens, it'll probably be not until the early 22nd century for that to be start to be reversed. Same for China as well. China's population is going to go from 1.4 billion this century to around 500 million by the end of the century, possibly even lower, depending if there's political instability, because there will be economic instability, social instability. That might lead to the collapse of China as a modernized industrial society, as well as the collapse of its current prosperity, as well as possibly political system. We could see China disintegrate in a civil war, or alternatively, it just declines, focus on internal issues, maybe has a war with Taiwan to distract the general public. But as I said, for China, it won't be until the 22nd century that they truly start to recover and enter a new golden age after the disaster of communist rule. And for Poland, it's purely a case of wait and see what happens globally, and see if they actually partner up with Sweden or with any other Scandinavian nations, but most likely will be Sweden because Sweden is the strongest Scandinavian nation as well. Denmark is also an option due to they have control and the access in the Baltic a lot more than the actual Sweden does, but Sweden is the still the strongest power. This goes up today's podcast that we found informative and useful. Thanks for listening. Please take care and peace out.